The idea here, I mean, the criticism is that without inflation, people wouldn't spend, and then the economy would come to a grinding halt.
Yes.
And that's nonsensical, because people spend not because they want to keep this magical monster called the economy going. People spend because they need to consume, because, that's how we live, that's how we survive. You need to eat, you need shelter, you need clothes to keep you warm. And as technology advances, the capabilities of the things that we can do with our time increases, and so we want to buy more things. So people buy things because people want to consume. There's a limitless desire to consume. That there's no there's no shortage of reasons for people to consume, whether it's food or Ferraris or private jets. People just always want to buy more. We don't need to be motivated to consume. Like, we have the insatiable desire to consume. Everybody would like to have more of all kinds of things. Everybody would like to have a bigger house. Well, not everybody. Some people have a big enough house, but everybody would like a house. Everybody would like a car, jet, all kinds of things, electronics, machines. So we don't need a desire to consume. But of course, the limit on how much we consume is opportunity cost. Why don't you buy a Ferrari? Well, because that's really expensive, and it would mean that, well, maybe you do have a Ferrari, but I mean, most people don't buy a Ferrari because it's too expensive. They can't afford it. They'd have to work too hard to get it. And if they do get it, it might mean that, they can't afford their house anymore. So we have to economize. That's a good thing. And we have to also think of the future. And so humans consume. That we don't need more motivation to consume. We have to deal with the economic reality of the things that limit us from consuming more. So what Keynesians present is that when there is a problem in the economy, like there was after World War I, the problem is always caused by the inflation. And what the Keynesian hucksters do is that they look at the consequences of inflation and blame it on people not spending enough, when people are doing the rational thing. The money is, so there was inflation, caused an unsustainable boom, it caused a recession, and now a lot of people lost their jobs and they don't have enough money to go out and spend frivolously, so they save for the future. The future is uncertain. That's a good thing. That's how you fix things. You begin the recovery by, you lost some wealth, so you spend less. Like if your business goes bust, if you lose your job, it's natural and smart that you stop spending money on the frivolous thing that you used to spend, and you save it for the future. You invest in something else, you get a new job, and then once you've recovered, you start spending more. This is very sane and very good, and it's the way to recovery. But essentially, the Keynesians have used this as a justification for more inflation, because inflation is an addiction. Once the government gets down the path of spending money to solve its problems, then every problem looks like it can be solved by more inflation. And so this is where Keynesian economics comes in. And of course, the Keynesian economics is based on the work of Keynes, which came in the 1930s. And this is the key point. It's portrayed in the textbook as if it's just this scientific breakthrough that, somebody in the 1930s, this genius came about and realized that, we don't actually need gold. We don't need hard money. We can actually just print all the money. And in reality, of course, it was just the very thin, flimsy, idiotic justification for what governments were already doing for 20 years. They'd already gone off the gold standard. And they'd gone through 20 years in which they were lying to their population, telling their population, we're still on a gold standard, but, there are problems caused by various random things. But don't worry, we're going to be going back on the gold standard. 20 years later, after they went off the gold standard, they come up with this justification for why, actually, the gold standard was bad. And this is the really pernicious thing about it, is the problems that were caused by us going off the gold standard were caused by the gold standard, and we're going to fix them by going off the gold standard even more.
If you're really thirsty and I have a bottle of water, you'll pay anything for it. If you're really thirsty and I've got 5 bottles of water, you're kind of thinking, I probably need some of that water, I'll buy them all, but at a lower price. If I say, here's 1 million bottles of water, you don't want any of it, because there's too much water now. It has no scarcity. So if you make too much of something, it becomes less valuable. So if Da Vinci had created 50 million pieces of art, guess what? They're worthless. I think it's going to happen at a shocking speed. So 1974, we went from everything looks okay to the worst recession since World War II in 4 months. I'm thinking it's going to look similar because of the speed of the monetary tightening, the speed of the rise of prices. So I think we are going to have a very ugly few months, both economically and for markets. The question is what comes next? And that's the key point. If my base case comes into play, which is the Fed pivot, they stop raising rates. They already started suggesting maybe we'll pause in September. My guess is June will be the last hike. And after that, they will say, well, we're just going to see, and we'll see the economy start going down the toilet. And they will start thinking, well, we're not going to do QT now either. So they're not going to start shrinking the Fed balance sheet. And before you know it, we're going to be talking about rate cuts, but we don't have many rates to cut, rates are nowhere. So the only outcome is they're going to have to print money. What you're trying to do here, what they're trying to do is reduce the debt via financial repression, which is you basically have inflation running slightly higher. So you have than interest rates. So what you want is to reduce the real value of the debt. So if you think back to your parents, how much they paid for a house and the mortgage they had, the mortgage seems laughable. It's because over time, inflation raised the value of the house and the debt doesn't get raised. So in the end, the debt is nothing.
So the way that is this stuff here make the money less valuable.
Correct.
Huh.
It makes the debt less valuable.
Right.
So it's okay if you're in debt, but if you're borrowing, if you're lending money, it becomes complicated. But anyway, the point being is you either have a fiscal stimulus, which is, let's say, the Republican view. We'll have a fiscal stimulus, cut taxes, and we'll put some spending. And what happens is that doesn't go to the people who are the worst off. So it's creating this issue of 1% versus 99, which everybody can see and nobody knows how to solve. The issue is actually the balance sheet, because all of the expensive assets keep going up because they keep printing money.
The rich get richer.
The rich get richer.
Yeah.
But doing this blanket fiscal stimulus is hard because the rich get richer again. So I think people have thought, well, maybe we should just try and give it directly to the people who are most affected. Okay, fine. Those are the two choices, or you do nothing, which is too late because there's too much debt. So you can't let the system clear anymore. The old way would have been you let the system clear, it's all okay, you just have a recession, everyone stops borrowing as much money, blah, 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 blah. The world is 400% of GDP in debt. The world has never been this in debt in all economic history. And this is a structural shift in the global economy. We're never going back to, that chicken run of 1,000 people in an office floor. I mean, I used to work at a trading floor. The guy next to you earns $20 million a year and he sits 3 feet from you with no privacy in this battery hen formation of people stuffed in for the maximum productivity. That's gone. I mean, at Real Vision, there's we got offices in New York, offices in the Cayman Islands, offices all over the place. Nobody goes to the bloody office. We've downsized it once and still nobody goes. It's 3 people out of 60 go to the office every day. So it's done. Nobody's doing that again. It is so important for people to get the right education. It is imperative. And there are lots of kind of scams around education. And we wanted to democratize the same kind of quality of financial education that we've done with financial information. You guys watch Real Vision, you know the quality. And it's not, I can't fully announce what we're doing, but we're really going to change the game on what it is, because these things cost fortunes, thousands for a good course, it's thousands of dollars. Most of them are not even done by people who've been in the markets, but we're going to change everything and create something nobody's ever done before.